In an internal email to employees, SpaceX CEO Elon Musk said that the development of the Raptor rocket engine that will power the Super Heavy Starship launch system is in crisis, adding the company risks bankruptcy if the company can't turn the situation around, according to media reports. Stay tuned to find out why the SpaceX CEO made such a statement to his employees. The problems pose a risk not only to SpaceX and its multi-billion-dollar Starlink satellite broadband program, but to Musk's plans to colonize Mars and NASA's Artemis program to return astronauts to the Moon. The U.S. Space Agency has awarded SpaceX a $2.9 billion contract to develop a lunar lander based on the Starship vehicle. In the email, reported by Space Explored, Musk called the Raptor program a disaster and warned of a genuine risk of bankruptcy next year if the new rockets are not launching Starlink broadband satellites in large numbers every 2 weeks. The consequences for SpaceX, if we cannot get enough reliable Raptors made, is that we then can't fly Starship, which means we then can't fly Starlink Satellite V2. Falcon 9 has neither the volume nor the mass to orbit needed for Satellite V2. Satellite V1, by itself, is financially weak, while V2 is strong. In addition, we are spooling up user terminal production to several million units per year, which will consume massive capital, assuming that Satellite V2 will be on orbit to handle the bandwidth demand. These terminals will be useless otherwise. SpaceX has received approval from the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, to launch nearly 12,000 Starlink satellites to provide global broadband services. The company has launched 1,844 satellites, with 1,684 functioning spacecraft in orbit, according to Jonathan's Space Report. The fully reusable Super Heavy Starship system will be capable of launching more than 100 metric tons, 220,462 pounds, to low Earth orbit, LEO. Falcon 9 can deliver 15.6 metric tons, 34,392 pounds, to LEO when the first stage is recovered for reuse, and 22.8 metric tons, 50,265 pounds, with an expandable first stage that crashes into the ocean. Falcon 9 rockets have launched up to 60 Starlink V1 satellites at a time. Falcon 9 has launched 53 of the heavier Starlink V2 satellites, which are equipped with laser communication systems. Falcon Heavy can deliver 63.8 metric tons, 140,655 pounds, to LEO. The rocket uses 3 Falcon 9 first stages, which can be recovered for reuse. SpaceX has not launched Starlink satellites on Falcon Heavy. Super Heavy Starship will use up to 39 Raptor engines. Super Heavy, which serves as the first stage, will have 29 Raptors during initial flight tests, rising up to 33 engines on later flights. The upper stage Starship vehicle requires 6 Raptors. The challenges go further than mass-producing that many engines, but a complete design overhaul is necessary for the engine that can actually make life multiplanetary. It won't be called Raptor, Musk said in a recent tweet. Musk blamed previous senior management for the problems in the Raptor program. CNBC reported last week that SpaceX Vice President of Propulsion, Will Helsley, had left the company due to a lack of progress in developing and manufacturing the powerful engines. He was replaced by Jacob McKenzie. What's behind SpaceX's $74 billion valuations? Elon Musk's 2 Manhattan projects. Elon Musk's SpaceX is now worth $74 billion, after it raised more capital last week, and the strong demand for shares means many investors believe the company's 2 ambitious projects will drive that valuation even higher. The company's valuation jumped 60% from its previous capital rise, which was just 6 months ago, and SpaceX's latest round of fundraising saw the company receive $6 billion in offers from investors over the course of just 3 days. A source familiar told CNBC, with the company accepting $850 million from those offers. The investor demand stems from its Starship and Starlink projects. Starship is the next generation rocket that Musk's company is developing, designed to be more powerful than even the Saturn V rockets that carried astronauts to the Moon. Starlink is a global satellite internet network made up of thousands of satellites, which SpaceX is beginning to use to bring high-speed internet to customers. Top Wall Street and industry analysts spoke to CNBC to help explain the excitement around SpaceX's Starship and Starlink programs. This valuation is based on a vision of what SpaceX is able to achieve in the future, Carissa Christensen, CEO of Bryce Space and Technology, told CNBC. Their valuation is very high, given the commercial launch market is measured in billions of dollars, not tens or hundreds of billions. So you also need to look to Starlink. While investors may be getting in at a seemingly lofty $74 billion valuation, ARK Invest analyst Sam Koros thinks that it's possible that SpaceX itself could become a trillion-dollar company. SpaceX shook up the global marketplace with the low cost and unprecedented launch rate of its Falcon 9 rockets. Jefferies analyst Greg Conrad explained, reusing the Falcon 9 rocket boosters, which SpaceX has landed 67 times, has been critical to SpaceX both keeping costs low and launching quickly. Historically, rockets that launched satellites and other large spacecraft were expendable, with the boosters discarded in the ocean after each launch. Conrad emphasized that the lower cost of SpaceX's rockets has created new opportunities for what you can launch and in what markets, with other companies now working on reusing rockets. New competitors like Blue Origin are creating this whole ecosystem of launch vehicle providers that are servicing the lower end of the market with cheaper solutions, Conrad said. But SpaceX wants to take an even bigger step with Starship. Musk aims for Starship to be fully reusable, not just the booster, which is the bottom portion of the rocket, by landing and relaunching in a way more similar to a commercial airliner. Starship and its boosters stand nearly 400 feet tall and would offer more capability than any rocket before it. To meet Musk's goal of launching as much as 110 tons of cargo at once, some of the opportunities we can't necessarily envision today, because space then becomes just that much more affordable on the heavy lift side, Conrad said. SpaceX has yet to reach orbit with the Starship rocket, but it is rapidly building and testing prototypes at its facility in Boca Chica, Texas. The company has successfully launched multiple Starship prototypes, landing them safely after short flights to about 500 feet altitude. Its two most recent high-altitude flights, despite passing multiple development milestones, exploded on impact during attempted landings. SpaceX has not disclosed how much it has spent on the Starship program to date, but Musk previously estimated that he expects it will cost the company about $5 billion to complete. While a Falcon 9 rocket is advertised with a $62 million price tag, SpaceX has said the operational cost is about $28 million per launch, but Musk claims Starship's full reusability would drive the cost per launch as low as $2 million, lowering the cost to reach low Earth orbit by another order of magnitude or even further, Coro said, meaning a reduction of about 10 times. Why Starlink is crucial to SpaceX's success. Starlink's business is accelerating as well. In February of 2021, Musk's company disclosed that Starlink was serving more than 10,000 customers. Now, after expanding pre-orders to even more potential customers, releasing a second-gen home internet satellite dish, and exploring the possibility of providing in-flight Wi-Fi for passenger aircraft, Musk says that Starlink has shipped more than 100,000 satellite internet terminals to customers in 14 countries. During a talk at Mobile World Congress in June 2021, Musk told an audience that Starlink would be available worldwide, except at the North and South Poles starting in August, though regional availability will depend on regulatory approval. In September, Musk tweeted that Starlink would exit its initial beta phase in October, which indicates that the service is continuing to ramp up and expand, though the budding broadband provider faces a backlog of prospective customers waiting to receive equipment and start service. Although Starlink is still in beta, it already has over 10,000 customers. The fledgling service is expected to be a cash cow for SpaceX, bringing in as much as $30 billion a year, more than 10 times the annual revenue of its existing rocket business. The revenue will be used to fuel Elon Musk's ultimate goal of building a colony on Mars. Eventually, Starlink may even keep us connected on the Red Planet. Now that you've watched the video, what do you think about SpaceX's Raptor engines and the Starlink satellite? Let us know in the comment section below.